again, if I miss something, just shout them out again. I apologize. Making a solid floor to work on for balancing the pose, absolutely. Anything to help you kind of orient yourself in space, you know. And also while you're working, let's go ahead and do it. So I've got a floor plane here. If I just do append, I could append a plane, but I'm going to append a cube just because I like working with objects with dimension. So I'm going to go ahead and move this down here. So now we've got a floor plane here. And now this, you know, visually just helps us kind of solidify where he is in space, how these things are going to work. You could go in here and start sculpting on this thing. So if I turn on project, turn on blur, just dynamesh this thing. And now we could go in here and be like, okay, there's something on here. Now, of course, you want to make sure you have, let's turn the floor off here. You want to make sure you have backface masking on, which is kind of weird that is it? Sculpt, I was like, it shouldn't sculpt through the object. What the heck? Oops. Let's re-dynamesh this thing. So we're dynameshing here. Or you know what? We have brush. We have our insert mesh brush. Yeah, now we're talking. That's a big head. So we'll go ahead and rotate this around here. That'll be kind of buried in the mud here. And again, you know, we can go ahead and, okay, split mass points. So now instead of trying to sculpt a skull onto the ground, just have a skull in there available to you that now you can like go in through here and modify. So I'm just going to go I'm just alt tapping these subtools here. And now I've got separate sculpts. So the more subtools you have, the easier it's going to be to kind of work through. And now you can kind of go through here with your clay buildup and start, you know, building up mud or whatever, you know, a pile of skulls, or I don't know. He doesn't have to be stepping on a skull, obviously, but whatever you want to do. Or you can go like brush, insert. There's some bricks and clods in here. Actually, let's do brush, insert. Is there? Yeah, clod. Let's see what's in our clods. Yeah, there's some good clods. So let's take this clod. Rotate that around. Something like that. Now, of course, if you want to split that off, you can just do a split hidden, split mass points, whatever works for you. But yeah, that'll help you kind of, you know, rotate and balance this guy and make sure he's cool. Yeah, it would be, again, it would be nice. If you guys find something, let me know next time, and I'll implement it. I've just been too lazy. What would you do when you use Dynamesh for your model and the fingers stick together? That's, and I've gone over this. If you go, I'm gonna one more chance to spam this. Here's the link to my YouTube channel. If you go to specifically Twitch TV PavMic, at the very bottom, there's the base mail blockout. Here, I go over this quite a bit in that stream. Also, another one, if you go to the Pixel Logic one, and you go to the bottom of this one, there's an anatomy workshop first. Broadcast 1 is mostly just anatomy, and I go over this, and broadcast 2 is kind of the making the body work. But what I would end up doing, for example, is just work on them separately. So, for example, you know what? We can just keep using this thing. So I'm going to grab this one. And if you ever want to clear some of this stuff out, just go to Subtool, Delete All, and then I'll go ahead and clear some memory. Because when you do a quick save, it's going to be saving all of this, so we don't really need. We'll do Delete All. This is one we're working on. Here's the head. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and save this off. Save as head remesh. So this is all Z-Tools all saved, so we'll delete all. And then this one, this cool sculpt we were doing, we don't need. Okay, so we're all cleared out here. The Thor head original we don't need. That's all been taken care of. So we've got this guy here. So what I can do is I can take this mesh. And what mesh is this one? This is his mesh with geometry, and then this is his original scan mesh. So what I'm going to do is take this scan mesh. I'm going to clone it off. And then I'm going to work on that one separately. So let's say I wanted to replace one of these hands. So what I'm going to do is turn on project, turn off blur, and we'll just dynamesh this here. So this hand here, I want to replace. So I'm going to take this hand off, and we're going to go to delete hidden, and I'm just going to dynamesh this. And I go to brush, insert, and we'll just grab insert mesh body parts here, and we'll grab a hand. And we'll just position that hand. Now we are going to have to flip this over. If you do it on this side, it'll be correct. So you know what? I'm going to do it on that side, and then I'm going to just do a split mass points, and I'm going to do a mirror. That's a deformation mirror across the x-axis here. And now we can just kind of position this thing. There we go. Now his hand is a little big, so I'm going to go ahead and scale this down. And we can rotate this into place. So now what's going to happen is, possibly if my Dynamesh is low, if it's not, I'll lower it so that it does do this. Much different feel. Now he's singing opera. It's not a bad thing. So let's say I've got a hand in here that you want to work on. If you want to pose this hand a little bit differently, a lot of different ways. You can hold down control with any of your, like rotate in this case, and go through here. You can rotate these things down, or you can make like a bone out of it and reposition with the outer ring, and then rotate these things down if you want. Usually for fingers, what I'll do is just mask lasso, invert that, rotate around, and then move, and just do any corrective stuff I want to do. Let's grab these two here, invert that, and again you can control click to soften that transition, and you can do multiple fingers at a time sometimes if they're close enough, and you can get a decent. We'll take this finger here. We're going to get really dramatic with his hands. We're going to take this finger here, and we'll curl this up a little bit. Oh, so dramatic. So you've got his dramatic hands here. If you want to, you can go through and inflate some of this stuff, you know, beef up his hands just a little bit. He is Thor after all. Okay, so we've got these hands here. Now, if I Dynamesh these together and his Dynamesh is 2, let's say we're just barely blocking this thing out, and we're just at a really early stage. So this is our resolution on our body that we're working on. And we've added a hand. So what I'm going to do, if I take this hand, merge it down to the body in Dynamesh, it actually worked fine because that resolution is low enough. Let's go ahead and undo that. I'm trying to make a point here. So let's do this again. Let's go ahead. You know what? Yeah, that'll work fine. So I'm going to go ahead and split hidden. Let's say we're at a really early stage. We're just barely blocking this guy out. We just got his forms in there. Let's keep dropping that down. Let's keep going. Yeah, so we're just blocking this guy out. And this thing doesn't need to be there because what this thing can be, delete hidden, we're going to go to brush, insert, cylinder, and we can go, let's re-Dynamesh this, we can go here and then drag down, and we'll give him a running baton because he is the most dramatic sprinter in history. He's just won, and now he's singing an opera about it. So now we can do a split mass points. And now we've got our blockout mesh going through here, and it's like, okay, I've got a hand here. Let's go ahead and take our body here and take our hand, and we're going to merge this down and Dynamesh. And now it's like, oh crap, my hand is destroyed. Well, what I would do is just work on the hand separately, and then as this guy goes up in resolution, you know, okay, so we started out here, now we're going to Dynamesh him at a higher resolution. If Dynamesh ever doesn't work, just tap it or smooth it a little bit and then re-Dynamesh, and that'll kind of get that figured out. So now I can go in here and be like, okay, let's run a little slight polish here. We'll go in here with Damien standard brush. We can kind of start sculpting this guy out. So we'll go through and we can kind of start just doing our basic anatomy sculpts here. We can go, well, Damien standard to pull it down, and then we can go back in with our clay brush or a clay buildup or whatever, and just start, you know, we're just blocking in our mesh and smoothing and clay buildup and all this good stuff, right? So as this goes up in resolution, now we're at 368, and we can work on our hands separately. So we can just, on this one, we can just hit Control D because the geometry is fine. You don't have to Dynamesh this thing. So we can just go in here with our clay brush, and we can start like sculpting in, you know, popping these knuckles a little bit. You know, and you got to, you know, take reference images of your hand because that's really, and put it in this really dramatic pose. Andy Bergholtz has some really, really good hands that you can check out. So when you bring your hand, am I on camera? You can bring your hands back, you'll see all of these, your extensors, the ligaments kind of popping a little bit. So that your flexors are down here, your extensors are here. So when you move your hand like this, these are going to pop, these are going to pop. Your knuckles, you can kind of look at those and see what changes they make. If you're doing your thumb, you know, you can pose it like this and you'll get this ligament to pop here. You get your little snuff box right through here. So all of that stuff and the stretched skin through here, all of those things really help sell your sculpt. So you definitely want to check that out. And get good reference. And these proportions look like they're a little bit off as well, so maybe that's not ideal. But anyway, you can sculpt on this separately, and then once you get everything up to the same resolution, when you merge it down eventually and you Dynamesh, now you're fine. You didn't lose any detail. Now they're all one mesh. So work on things separately until you're able to bring them together without getting like webbing or anything in there. Or work on them separately the whole time until you're detailed, and then you can do the whole process, go all the way back to the beginning of this video when I post it.